professor, author, so much more. Jeanne Zaino. Tell everybody, if they didn't see this piece in AM New York, what you were talking about when you talked about the blurred lines when it came to Governor Cuomo's jab at the wife of Bill de Blasio. What was the context, and do you think the governor was or wasn't out of line?
Yeah, I'm not hip enough to come up with that title. That was definitely them. This is just a little story, and what happened was, Chirlane McCray, the First Lady of New York City, has been, fairly active on several issues, as the mayor said she would be.
Yep.
And she had gone to speak in Harlem and said on the issue of universal pre-K, she wasn't going to accept the Band-Aids and scraps that were being offered, that they were going to go fight. And she had a trip planned at that point to Albany. She followed that up by saying that universal pre-K is the civil rights issue of our time. What happened was the governor must have gotten subtly frustrated with that and went on the Brian Lehrer show at WNYC and took exception to that and claimed that no, public education, and this was in the midst of the charter school fight, is the civil rights issue of our time. And so
didn't use her by name.
Didn't use her by name. It was clear who he was talking
Yep.
about. A really subtle jab. But the question was, is it, should you be taking shots at the wife, the First Lady of New York City, or any first spouse? It doesn't have to be a First Lady. And I think what I basically concluded was, if she's going to put herself out there in these political roles, which she has an appointed position now, she's going to have to accept that.
I agree with you. Even if she didn't have an appointed role, even in an unofficial capacity, you're an adult and you weigh in on a situation, and the microphones are going to record what you say because you're the First Lady or the first spouse. You are fair game.
Who disagrees with that?
Well, nobody, but some people said the governor shouldn't have talked about the First Lady.
He didn't get as much criticism as you might expect, but he did get some. And this is a subtle job, but you hear this all the time.
We heard the things you could pick on to criticize Andrew Cuomo about. Why stick on that?
Well, it's the same thing that happened with Hillary Clinton during the healthcare fight, right? When people attacked her, they said it's not fair.
If the mayor's wife is going to speak out about her view of charter schools and pre-K, the governor has every right to talk back.
He does have to be careful, though, what he says and how. I mean, he did a good job. I mean, when he did, she also has to be careful because she's gonna, the more politicized she gets, the more it can harm her husband when he goes to run for re-election, if he does.
Or help him.
Keep in mind,
it could help him, but not if not if her negatives begin to crawl up and her popularity goes down.
Why would her negatives go up? Because she disagreed with the governor.
No, if she says makes controversial statements, her negatives could go up. And she has been making comments, and the comments about charter schools are not, as popular. I mean, you said they were popular. They're not as popular. I mean, his position on charter schools was not well received in the city.
Well, Richard, you need to
more.
call Mayor de Blasio up and tell him, listen, here's a free piece of advice. Leave Governor Cuomo alone because you're not going to win that battle.
How about this? If you're going to fight Governor Cuomo, fight him and lose. Not leave him alone, but pick the fight and don't back down.
Well, I believe you don't do a fight that you can't win.
Sure,
you cannot win.
Every once in a while.
He's the governor, you're the mayor. You cannot win.
Every once in a while, you pick a fight because you're making a point.
And this governor in particular is going to make sure that you don't ever win.
If Bill de Blasio wants to pick a fight with Andrew Cuomo, it ought not to be about the millionaire's tax. It ought to be about the governor's disagreement about minimum wage. And even if he doesn't get what he wants, people will identify him as a guy who stood up and did what he said he'd do. There are plenty of ways you can pick a fight, not get what you want, and emerge politically stronger.
You know what he's going to like?
He hasn't figured that out yet.
Of course, you got the last word. We'll be right back to wrap things up. Stay with us.
Once every 6 weeks.